Welcome to Married to Portuguese. On each episode, my English-Irish husband, Bob, and I discuss and laugh about our life and adventures in the Portuguese culture.
I can't with you. I can't.
Bom dia.
Yeah, bom dia.
Bom dia.
Bom dia. He makes me laugh before this goes on. So all the time it starts, I'm like giggling away over here.
As I've said. Why do I have trouble speaking the language? Because when I speak it, this is the reaction I get.
All right, honey, we have reached our last overall thing of
For season 2, yes. Sabrina's Portuguese Table, season 2, episode 8, Fayal.
Fayal. Okay, I'll let you start with Fayal because I'm not saying anything. Go ahead.
Okay. We fell in love with Fayal. We love all of the islands. Fayal was the last island we filmed at.
Yes.
And we had been working for 2 weeks straight at that point.
Yep.
Days off, long days.
Yep.
We knew we were at the end of the project. And we were in a groove.
Yes, true.
And we knew we were on a special trip. All of us.
Yes.
We knew we were on a special trip, and so we were just enjoying it. And so we probably had a heightened sensitivity of we're enjoying this as much as we can, and the island gave that love.
Oh, yeah. It gave it right back to us.
Starting with, Peter's Cafe and their amazing gin and tonics and...
Gin du Bar.
Gin du Mar.
Gin du Bar. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was tremendous. I mean, the times that we were there, the weather was perfect.
It was.
And
Fayal, it was perfect. The weather was. We didn't have one rainy day there.
Things just lined up, and when they didn't line up, something else stepped right up at the right time, and it was just amazing. And for the island itself, it seems to me to be the perfect mixture of the whole Azorean experience.
How so?
So, like San Miguel, you've got Ponta Lagada.
Yep.
So you've got a bit of urban, but then you've got like Ribeira Grande. It's a little bit more built up.
Yeah.
Little bit more.
Yeah.
So, you don't have that necessarily on Azores. We didn't see it as much.
No.
Lage.
That's Pico.
Oh, it's Pico. I'm terrible with names. Where we stayed in Azores.
Velish.
Velish. That was more like Ribeira Grande. I don't think it was built up as Ponta Lagada.
Correct.
So you've got a little bit of that in Horta. Then you've got
very cosmopolitan in Horta.
But 100 yards out of Horta, you could just as well be on like Terceira. I think the terrain was very close to that.
Yeah, you're right.
But like Pico, you can always see Pico, so it's like kind of like the São Jorge. There were some steep roads that we drove, so that kind of gave it the flavor of São Jorge. And the people were it seemed like they had a little bit of
everything. Yeah. So again, we had to take the ferry. We took the ferry from Pico to Fayal,
which is like 5 miles. So it was a pretty quick.
That one was a little longer than São Jorge to Pico.
Well, maybe I have them confused.
Yeah,
but
you had it opposite. It was a shorter ride. It was an hour. I want to say an hour.
It was easy.
Yeah, it was easy, and very inexpensive. So if anyone who was thinking of, I'd love to do these 3 Central Islands or the Triangle Islands, very easy to do. So
it's just a few euros if you weren't bringing a car or a bicycle.
Correct. And if you had, cargo, you'd have to pay more, but you're not going to be traveling with cargo like we did. But it was very inexpensive.
But again, Horta was easy to get around.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I mean, look at what we got to do. We were tasting local cheeses and baked goods.
Really amazing. Well, we teamed up with a food tour.
Yep.
and Raphael from Hungry Whales food tour.
Great guy.
Oh, amazing. If you're in Fayal, highly recommend it. He also does a food tour in Punta Delgado, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so he because I had never been to Fayal. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be talking as an expert of Fayal because I'm not. That was my first time there. So I'm like, I want to meet who can teach me and in a way teach you about the food of Fayal. So we went to a farmer's market, and there is a store, and it's called the Triangle Store, and they sell all the products that are made in Azores, Pico, and of course Fayal. And so it was the cheeses, it was the breads, it was the ishbash was there. They were selling the ishbash. They were selling Azar wines. They were selling all of that stuff there. So they put out a table. It was like beautiful spread, and for us to taste all the different cheeses. And in Fayal they have Fayal queijo muro, do muro, o muro, something like that. I think it's o muro, and it's, how can I explain it? You have to cut the top off, and it's a soft, spreadable kind of cheese in the center. Out of this world. Just out of this world. Fantastic. So, and then the jams, and then all the breads and all these different things. So I'm tasting everything along, and then we stop filming, and then the crew, everybody else starts tasting
we get to descend on the table.
Yes, and then they got to take, oh, I like this one. I like this one. Oh, how about that? Where can I get this? And so then they start buying, because now we know this is the last island. And so now they're like buying all stuff.
Yeah.
It was cute. It was really cute. And then from there, talking to someone at the table who was there, and I'm like, the honey was so good. And she's like, oh yeah, we have over, I can't remember the number, but it was a high number.
Like 40 something farms
of honeybee farms, of honey farms. And I'm like, really? You have it here? I knew they had it in Pico because of the wine. You need honeybee, you need bees around that. And we couldn't make it to the honey place there. They wouldn't let us.
Yeah.
They were too busy or whatever. And so she's like, oh, and I happen to have, some hives that, my partner and I, are part of the co-op, and, they have the honey and then they sell it in part of the co-op. And I'm like, oh my goodness, can I see it? And she's like, yes, you're welcome to come and see it. So that was a gift of when we landed in Fayal, of what I had that I wanted to do. We did all of it.
Yep.
Plus we did the honey.
And that was just great segment.
Oh,
fun morning. It was
just
so
good.
We laughed so hard. We laughed so hard. I mean, you don't want to upset the bees, so you
have to be very quiet.
You've got to be quiet. You don't want to upset them. And
everybody has to be and you can't move too fast, because if you move too fast, they think, you're being assertive and they'll attack, that kind of thing. So it was like,
and there weren't enough suits for everybody.
No.
So Mark and I had to stand off
all the way
distance and
so far away,
and still we had to be especially quiet since we were more vulnerable than everybody.
Correct.
That was terrific.
Yeah.
And then
we have to say that it's either Dean or Charlie. I think it was Dean. He was antagonizing the bees.
Well, probably. Well, it could have been either one of them.
So
my money's on Dean, though.
It was on Dean. I think it was Dean. And he's like, like doing that. And the girls are like, don't do that. Don't do that. You're protected. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to be okay. And, but for whatever reason, I was fine. I was covered up. They made sure that there was no little openings for them to get in. We smoked it with lavender, if I'm not mistaken. And so to calm them down. And so that was, and then to see, I've never held one of those. It was heavy. It was so much honey was in that. And delicious, delicious, delicious honey.
And from there, we drove out to Capelish.
Yes,
right?
Capelinos.
Capelinos,
Yep.
excuse me.
Yep.
For the volcano, which, we'd done our research. We knew the story going into it, that it was the eruption of the volcano in 57, 58, that basically devastated that end of the island. It killed the commerce for the whole island.
The whole island.
And
it was 13 months.
And spurred the American government to change its immigration policy, starting with Azorians to let them in. So it changed everybody's lives, quite frankly.
It changed everybody's lives on those islands.
So we drove out there not knowing what to expect, and it's very, the museum is very much like a James Bond villain lair.
Yes, it is.
So we get out to the end of the island, and it's crazy windy, and there's a few cars around, and it's a long walk. I mean, the wind was blowing like 30 miles an hour. It was just a long walk, and it's black sand from the eruption, and there's like a cement bunker and an empty lighthouse.
Yes, an empty lighthouse.
Like an abandoned lighthouse.
Yeah, and then there's like this building, but you have to go under. So we're going, okay, this must be the museum, and it is a bunker.
It
is
really
a bunker.
It is a bunker.
And so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, they turned out to be great. It is an amazing facility, talking about the history of the islands, volcano,
incredible
immigration, the story of there was one man who was local, who was a scientist, who understood immediately what was happening, and because of his actions, nobody died.
Nobody died.
It's hard to believe it.
Yeah.
And
no one died.
Like the locals were paid peanuts, like 10 cents a day, to be shoveling the streets to keep them clear, and the women were paid like pennies a day to clear the roofs, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing, and to get out and to look around and to understand that,
the magnitude. The magnitude.
This was a village. There were people. Their lives were here, and just all taken away. And what's left of the volcano, what do you say, like 100 years will be gone?
Yes.
The island that's left from the eruption will be
gone.
So it was very sobering to understand and see firsthand, how vicious nature can be, and also to understand the impact it had on the lives of so many people, here in the United States, who are here because of that. And, the population of Fayal never recovered.
No.
Because
they lost pretty much half of everybody, the population there.
Folks from the other islands left as well.
Yeah.
And
that was, to me, yeah. That was, I had to walk away. I had to walk away because I saw the paper, the copy of the paper, which, at the very top, it says the Refugee Act.
Yes.
And I never realized that, because we came in the 60s, and that was still part of that time where the quotas had been open to allow more Azorians in. So the reason I'm here is, I know it was chain migration with my uncle calling us, but if it was prior to the Capelinos, there was a certain number of people that would come in every year, and there were people that were on that waiting list for so many years, and with that piece of paper, that quota was gone. There was no more quotas. And so I never realized that I had come here, and all of us had come here, and we were actually refugees. We were considered refugees. And that was
So thanks to Senators Kennedy and Pastore.
Yes.
For pushing that.
Yes. John F. Kennedy and John Pastore out of Rhode Island.
And then to finish the episode.
Yes.
We were at Fazenda.
Yes.
With Manny and Margot.
Oh my goodness.
And
Margot Petiti. What a sweetheart.
Assuming there is a heaven.
Oh.
It can't be better.
Oh.
Than their farm. I can't imagine a more perfect place.
It was just beautiful. Just beautiful.
It's
just beautiful.
High up on a hilltop.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful perfect day.
Yeah.
Overlooking the Atlantic, overlooking Pico.
Mountains, lush.
Manny and Margot, and Margot's parents were there, were just awesome hosts. Manny is a 5-star chef in my opinion.
Yes, he is.
Margot is modern equivalent of
a Renaissance woman.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a Renaissance woman.
Exactly. She is Da Vinci.
Yeah. She is a scientist, but she's also an entrepreneur. I mean, she does all these things. And what's great in all this is they decided, this was her
grandfather's
great-grandfather's.
That's right.
Great-grandfather's land. And it belonged to the family, but now it belongs to them, if I'm not mistaken. And they're rebuilding their great-grandfather's house and rebuilding it, and so that they can live there. And so they came from the United States to go back and live in Fayal. And so
it was a gamble. I mean, they gave up lives here.
Yes, they gave up their livelihood, their home, their everything into, you know what? I'm a scientist. Seeds are one of her things. She works with the scientists at Cornell and working on specific seeds that will produce a certain kind of vegetable or this or that. And working with Cornell University, creating these seeds, growing it on the farm, and then Manny takes what they grow and creates masterpieces. It was, yeah.
Just crazy.
I can't, it was like, you made this? And he's like, oh yeah, I made this. And he served like different things. I cooked with him. I made the upside down carrot cake and the carrot soup. But what I didn't know is he had made other stuff like, and I'm like, where did this come from? And it was, he made ravioli stuffed with like butternut squash. He made like these beautiful what was it? Like flatbreads with like spices and seeds. I mean, it was incredible. It was incredible.
I mean, to sit.
That was a great way to end.
Yeah, to sit at that picnic table.
Yeah. Because after we all sat. Yeah, that was, yeah.
To sit at that table in that setting.
Yeah.
With that group of people was just perfection.
It was.
When we talk about Maria's Portuguese table, sitting I mean, that's experience.
That's it. That's the experience.
You walk away and you remember that forever, a lifetime.
Yeah.
You won't even remember what we talked about, but remember the people that we enjoyed it.
Correct.
And that was amazing. And then,
correct.
Then it was leaving. It was time to say goodbye and fly home. Now you stayed.
I stayed to go.
You stayed because you were leading a tour.
I was leading a tour, but I do have to say this: if you go to Fayal, you could experience that farm to table.
Oh, that's right.
Because they hold farm to table events at their fazenda.
Yep.
So, and it's called fazenda, and but they constantly have these whatever they're growing. It's because that is how the Azorean way. You cook what is growing. It's what's in season, and that's exactly what he does.
I don't know what they charge, but it's not enough.
It's not. Yes. You're right. You're right.
Not enough. Charge more.
Yeah. It's incredible. And you're right. He's a 5-star. Yeah, absolutely.
Just loved it. And we were laughing. The running joke as we were driving around in the van was, we'd see a house for sale, especially if it was a ruin. We're like, okay, Charlie and I were going to buy that house, and who's going to live upstairs, who's going to live
downstairs, and that's it. That I think more than all the other islands, even though we loved every island. Trust me, we loved every island. I found for me it was Azores that really touched me, and then next it was Fayal. Those were the two that were for me the ones that really touched my heart a lot. And so when we were in Fayal, I mean, we heard it in the other ones. Like, they'd go, oh, I could live here. Oh, I could live here. Sarah, everybody was like, oh, I can live here. This is so Americanized. I can definitely live here. Yeah, and whatever. But Fayal was different. And at the end, they were all on the app. All of them. And I'm not kidding. All of them. They were all on the app looking at houses. Hey, look at this house. Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, look. And since then, one of our camera guys, Charlie,
took his family back
because he's Italian. And when he was in it, he was like, I never knew this existed. I can't believe this is here in the middle of the Atlantic. I've got to bring my family. So he brought his wife and his 2 daughters. And this is what I want. This is what I want. I want people to fall in love with all of these islands, to fall in love with the food, to fall in love with everything that those islands give. And
we did.
And we did. So this is the end. This is the end of our 8-part series of behind the scenes of Maria's Portuguese table. The only thing we did not mention, and I'll mention it really quickly, the boat ride.
Oh, the sailboat ride, not the ferry, the sailboat ride.
Sailboat ride.
Yeah, I skipped that for you.
You did?
I did.
Why is that? It was not enjoyable for me. It wasn't enjoyable at all. But let's just say Dramamine and those wristbands did not work on me.
Did not work.
That's all I have to say. I don't have to say any more than that. So we had to stop filming Maria, and we had to do other stuff on that boat because Maria was turning green. Yeah.
And it's a shame. It was a pretty calm night, and it just didn't agree with you.
It didn't agree with me.
That's all.
Yeah.
But that was a beautiful couple.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful boat, a beautiful night. We just could not get more out of it because you were under the weather.
Yeah.
Under the weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't want to end on this note.
No, we don't. We don't want to end on that note. But, I mean...
Go to the islands.
Go to the islands.
Doesn't matter which one. There's no bad choice.
There really isn't. Go to them. Go discover them. Breathe. Take it all in. Enjoy every moment of it. Life is too short. So if you can get a deal, a package deal, anywhere you can find something, because sometimes they do. Sometimes they have a really good deals on it. Take it. Do it. You will not be disappointed.
No.
All
right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and we'd love to hear your ideas for topics. Ciao.